Guys, are you ready to start this?
Sorry, Russell.
That's okay. So we'll call this meeting to order, and we would like to recognize that collectively we are on the unceded territories of all the First Nations within our regional boundaries. Approval of the agenda?
Moved.
Seconded by Vivian. So all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Hey, this 3.1, Kristen, I am supposed to read this now.
Or you can just move, that item on the agenda. You don't have to read it all.
I'll move it.
Okay, I'll move 3.1.
Second.
Seconded by Tony, Sal. All right, call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. Is there anything in the consent agenda that we need to move forward? Vivian?
Just a couple of comments on the September Select Funds Report, please. 4.2.1 to remove that.
Go ahead. Okay, you want to move that to another location?
Yes, please.
Okay, Kristen?
Will that bump it down to 10?
No, we can put that as 6.5.
Okay.
Thank you.
6.5.
I'd like to move that.
Okay, so with that move then to 6.5, the consent agenda can be moved.
Oh, yeah.
Moved by Tony, seconded by Vivian. Okay. And okay, any business arising from the minutes? None. Staff reports and other business. Interim CAO verbal update.
I don't have one.
Oh, come on, Kristen.
We were so excited waiting for this.
It's your last chance, Kristen.
Sorry, what was that, Director Rainbow?
I said it's your last chance.
I know. I don't have anything.
Okay.
Okay, then we will. I'm just trying to get my screen to move here. Okay, information report, Community Works Gas Tax Funds. Suzanne, I see you, and that's an excellent report. I thank you very much for that. And I think Vivian will too. Okay.
So yeah, this report just puts together some facts on the Community Works Fund uses, and I also used a lot of the information from UBCM themselves. They have a document setting out what are projects and then with some examples, which I think is helpful. But I think the committee wants more of a discussion based, so I'll leave it up to you guys to ask me questions unless you want me to go through the full report.
I think Vivian's got some questions, so we'll let her start this off.
I'd actually be pleased if you went over the report. I'm really trying to get a grasp on this. I'm happy that we were able to use some of these funds for the what I called energy efficiency project, but which UBCM called recreation center. I'm wondering about funds towards a cultural center in Lillooet. There's a little bit of positive motion on that and just other opportunities. So yeah, if you wanted to, one question I definitely have is, can we use these funds for matching funds in a project? I can't figure that out.
You can use these funds for a portion of a project as long as the project still falls within the eligible project criteria. So it has to be an eligible project, like infrastructure based, first thing. And then as long as the person that's owning the infrastructure can fall within an ultimate recipient, which sounds like it can, that's the other question to ask. And it can only be used for certain expenses as well. So it can't be used for legal costs, can't be used for rental of equipment, and can't be used for SLRD staff time, but it sounds like that's not part of the project. So I can go through the report really briefly.
Can I just ask a question to follow up on what you just said, Suzanne? If there were a project where we were applying for a certain percentage of it to be covered by gas tax funds, could another federal grant be paired up with that?
Most likely not.
Or
Most likely not.
Okay,
In
so
the grant application, it should state whether the grant allows stacking. So the stacking is described as using other federal funds for the portion that
okay.
the company is responsible for.
But could it be other government funds? So for example, if I were doing something in partnership with Squamish, could the district put in some of their funds to match funds that I'm getting from gas tax? It wouldn't be federal funds, it would be local government funds.
Yeah, it all depends on whatever ultimate grant the infrastructure is falling under. So if it's just District of Squamish using their funding, that's fine. If it's a specific grant that you're applying for province, that's when you'll find that they might have limitations on
Okay,
use.
thank you.
Vivian?
I know it's not, well, no, it's of interest to half of us way up here in the north. Sal and I would be interested to know if you could use these funds matching for Northern Development Initiative Trust. And I know that's probably a question for them too, but I'd like to know your take on it, Susanna. That would be pretty exciting in my world.
So my advice is to forward me the actual Northern Development Initiative Trust grant application, and it might have stipulations within it, but most likely not, because it's not federal funding as far as I'm aware. So it would all depend on the grant application. Like it should lay out in there what you can use for your portion of funds if you needed a portion of your own funds.
Yeah, Suzanne, I'm looking at the recreation infrastructure,
Mhm.
and earlier this year, I went through the PILT funding for the Braylorn Recreation Area, which is a registered BC government rec site, and it's quite large. It takes up most of the mountain. And we had a meeting last night, and they're looking at continued funding through their management plan that they have with the province. So would that fit into that category?
It would help if we had more information, but from what I hear, it could. I would have to double check that it falls within what they deem as recreation, and that the infrastructure would qualify. It sounds like it would.
Yeah, well, I'll get them to draft something up and I can get it to you, and you can send it to the UBCM and to verify.
Yeah. What I can also offer to the committee is, I was hoping to do this earlier than now, but to put through some policies and some forms for community works fund usage. So it kind of can lay out some information you can fill in for me. And then we can more easily decide if it does qualify or not. So I'm still debating on how that will look, but I'm going to pull other regional districts and see how they do their community works fund kind of designations to make sure that there's no risk in using the funds.
Yeah, Tony, go ahead and then Sal.
Thank you. Suzanne, I just wanted to say thank you for this report. When I read it, I didn't quite understand the purpose of it, and I immediately got excited and went through it and wrote up a thing because I figured it ticks all the boxes that I had for that application for the Whistler Olympic Park. And then Kristen calmed me down and said, Suzanne's on that, and yes, she agrees, and she's working with UBCM to try to get that approved. So again, so thank you for that. And when I look at it, I just cannot see how they can say no. So
Yeah, I agree.
that's what I see.
And I don't really understand where UBCM was coming from. Like, we've been obviously getting UBCM's approval for all of our Community Works Fund uses. And this one, I don't understand, because I do think it falls within the agreement. And they're getting pushback from the federal government, it sounds like, for certain types of projects. So the agreement might change in the future, it sounds like, but I agree that WOP should qualify. So I have been emailing UBCM to see their thoughts on that. And
Okay.
hopefully we can get an answer. I haven't gotten one yet.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for working on that.
Sal?
Yeah, Suzanne, reading the report, they had a few examples where they had the questions that you had to answer. And I think if you did up a form, you had something similar to like that, then the proponents that are putting in the applications can review that and to make sure that at least they're going to they'll know that they have to go through that process to be able to secure that funding. I like what you're talking about, having a document that the different organizations can work through.
Okay, so yeah, I can definitely put something across in the next couple of meetings. I'll bring something forward for discussion.
Okay, Vivian?
This document is pretty helpful as it is. Hopefully that wouldn't mean a lot more work. I'm a little confounded. I'm thinking about the recycling option because you need a designated. If the SLRD is managing the landfill and we incorporate more recycling in the district of Lillooet, is that a feasible idea to even look into? You think?
So just expanding the Lillooet landfill for more recycling opportunities? Is that what you?
That could be a start.
Yeah, it would have to be reviewed. Basically, I need to review if it is infrastructure. So we could use it for infrastructure-based projects. So if it's just, if it's not really infrastructure-based, if it's some kind of plan, we can look at that too, because they do allow some planning with Community Works funds. That's the last category there, long-term infrastructure plans. So,
Or bike lanes might fit there too then. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Vivian, do you want Suzanne to go through any more of the report for you or for us?
It sounds like everybody read it. Unless there was more that you wanted to say, Suzanne, I thought it was just a pretty good report. It covered what I needed to know. So I thank you and give you the opportunity to say something else about it.
so I think that we'll use this information report for building like the policy and the forms. And yeah, I do like the idea of having these options available for people that want to maybe use gas tax funding, so they can have their own forms to review if it'll fit. I don't have any other comments about the report other than we can use gas tax community works funds for asset management as well. And since that might be an expensive project for the SLRD, we might look at using some of these funds for asset management plans as well. And that's just something that I know is coming down the pipe for us. And it would be something we could get a portion from all of the areas, like we did with the asset management software. We allocated 20,000, but equally from each area. And that's something we might be able to do for the asset management plans if the EAD committee wished to use some more funding. But that's not really to do with your question. That's just something I noticed that we might in the future want to look at.
So Chair Mac, would you like a, oh, sorry.
Oh, I saw Tony kind of maybe, did you want to ask another question, Tony?
No, I was just going to say to Vivian that I'm not sure what page it is on the report, but local roads, bridges and active transportation, it specifically mentions cycling lanes, paths, sidewalks and hiking trails. So I think you're okay with that kind of a thing. Thank you.
Yeah, right on. That's good. Okay, do you want to move receipt of this then, Vivian?
Move receipt with appreciation.
Very good.
I'll second that.
I'll second it. Okay. Call for question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried. 6.3, request for decision, Seton Valley Volunteer Fire Society.
Sorry, Russell, can I just ask one question about that? Do we want a resolution for Suzanne to bring that policy back?
The policy or
I don't believe so.
No.
Go ahead, Tony.
do you mean the policy as is or forms to
No,
go
no.
along with it? Yeah.
Yeah, Suzanne, what you were thinking about bringing back, do you want that in a resolution? Do you want that just left informal, or do you want a resolution?
We could put through a resolution if you want, just to develop community works funds kind of forms and application forms, I guess we can call it.
I'll move what Suzanne just said.
And I'll second it. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, 6.3, I see Sarah is here, or was, or
Yes,
is.
she- Good morning.
Good morning.
Vivian, do you want to talk about this before Sarah gives us the lowdown on this?
Thank you. Am I on mute now?
Nope, you're good. Yeah, we can hear you.
No, I think we should start with Sarah because she knows a heck of a lot more about it than I do.
Okay.
But I'm super pleased that there's a little bit of positive motion and there's some nice things going on, and I get some positive emails from the community, but I only get bits and pieces. I think Sarah has a bigger global picture, so thank you. And thank you, Sarah.
Okay, Sarah, do you want to lay it out?
All right. So as the report states, and as Director Birch-Jones just said, I think we have some very positive forward movement in terms of fire services in the wider Seton Portage, Seton Valley area. Chief among those is steps for the society to amalgamate with the Seton Lake Volunteer Fire Department. And my understanding is that most, if not all, of the regular members have now joined the Seton Lake Department. There are, as I understand it, detailed discussions going on about the transfer of assets from the society to the Shalath Seton Lake Department, and other general steps towards an overall amalgamation and joining of those two departments under the Shalath Fire Chief. So to that end, we intend to pursue a long-term, more permanent agreement with Shalath on terms that are agreeable to both parties. And bearing in mind that it is just the start of September, but I'm sure it will be the 31st of December when the current arrangement expires soon enough. So the resolution does allow for an additional extension of the current temporary service agreement if we need some time to really negotiate that agreement to something that's, you know, that both sides are very happy with and are comfortable that they can deliver on in the long term. So that's why the resolution does just allow a little more time if necessary to get to that final agreement. And in tandem with that, the society is also in discussions, you know, around a formal agreement in terms of the dissolving of the society and transfer of assets and things like that. So there are, there's a process there that the SLRD is not involved in. The society is entirely independent in taking its own decisions there, but it is in tandem with this process of negotiating a long-term agreement. The other part of that will be the occupation eventually of the Shalath Seton Lake Department in the Seton Portage Fire Hall, because if they can use that hall as a sister hall, then there's faster response time for fire. The equipment, including the apparatus, are already housed there. So we know, you know, just practicalities like that the apparatus fit in the hall, those kinds of things. So that is the other part of the process is will be some kind of tenancy agreement in the future to cover that aspect.
Sounds very exciting.
I think it is, yeah.
Tony?
Yeah, I just congratulations, Sarah, for getting to this point. And Vivian, I recall coming to that meeting in Seton with the local fire department. It didn't look like we were going to be going anywhere. So it's great we've got to this point. I just have a couple of questions. One, let's assume everything goes smoothly and we everything's amalgamated, assets transferred and everything. How will this department then say Britannia Beach and Garibaldi? Will it be the same kind of setup?
No, it will be much more like Birkin, where it is an independent entity providing those fire services. So it's not a department under Protective Services as fire services coordinator.
But and financially, we've got a service area, so that would provide some of the thing, and Shalath would provide the remainder of the funding. Is that correct?
So Shalath have their existing funding streams for that department, and the service area would provide, in effect, additional funding in recognition of an expanded service area that they're covering.
And my other question is jumping ahead. I note there's a notice from or a letter from Eugene today saying that there are people going to Port Moody for an official ceremony to accept this truck. So my question is anybody from the SLRD going? You know, it's described as a photo op, and I'm thinking if the mayor of Port Moody is there, for example, we might need to have somebody like Vivian or yourself there. No, seriously. I mean, there's sort of a.
I hear you, Director Rainbow. I would say that the acquisition of this fire truck has been an initiative entirely of the society. It's not anything that I have had any hand in, and so I feel it's appropriate that the society takes all the publicity there. They've done all the work.
Oh, that's fine. I wasn't looking at it from that point of view. I'm just thinking from the point of view of the local government in Port Moody, if they're expecting any kind of SLRD presence.
I don't believe they are.
They're not. Okay, that's fine.
And as much as I would love a road trip to Port Moody, that it was never mentioned as an invitation. And I think that the Seton group are planning probably a pretty fun trip. They're excited about receiving this truck, and maybe
So,
what we do
yeah.
instead is, I'm sure there will be photos galore, and maybe
So
we
they-
post one of them too. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that truck and storage and how all these assets are managed in the future. But it's a really good news story at a time after all the tough times they've had. It's great.
Well, I
Okay, can
I might preempt the mayor of Port Moody and send him a note and say that we really appreciate it, but we're not sending an official delegation. I don't know. I don't want a call from him. That's all.
A thank you might be quite nice, Chair Rainbow, acknowledging it, but I'll leave that up to you guys to
Yeah, we can do that.
I feel like Sarah is that I want to recognize, I mean, it was entirely the efforts of the volunteer Seton Valley firefighters, and I think that they're going to get the credit, and so they should.
Absolutely. I have no quarrel with that whatsoever. None. So,
Okay, can I get somebody to move this 6.3? Vivian, second.
Yep.
Sal. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much, Sarah. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Chair Mac.
yeah.
Okay, 6.4 direction request, EAD strategic priorities. I'll just start off with Area C. We're fine as is. We want to complete what we're doing the way we're doing it. So go to Sal.
Yes, I'm also fine with Area A. We have lots on the plate.
Okay, Vivian.
I had a couple of changes on the Area B. Under number 1, the First Nations relations, I'd like to support planning and implementation of a Statlium Cultural Center. There is some footwork going on that, which is exciting. This actually is a follow-up to the community meeting that we had. And it's like, that was back at the end of 2019. And it seems like years ago, but it was just less than a year ago. Under the environmental stewardship, we could add the signage that I'm working on for Area B with the leave no trace messaging. And actually, we're a little farther along. Both Anderson Lake Park is known locally, and maybe this could be put in brackets as the Together Park. I think that's a name that the communities have agreed on. If it could just be in brackets for now.
Sorry, after Anderson Lake Park, Seton, put in brackets Together Park?
Yes, please. Yeah, that's my understanding, is that the communities have agreed on that as a name. And there is some work on archaeological assessments being done on that first one, and on the Texas Creek Park staff. And you've got yes and yes for currently being actioned by staff. So that's correct. We're trying to pull together a conference call with some of the First Nations on the Texas Creek Park. What else did I have? At the bottom, fire services, Maybe we could change that wording. The actioning of SLRD Fire Services Review dash Seton, maybe it could just be support the fire services as a general statement. Does that make sense, Kristen? Yep, and fuel mitigation stays. Roads advocacy is the same. Emergency planning can go to the bottom. I have very little to do with that. I'm amazed at how well Sarah keeps us informed as events happen. But I don't feel, I think I have more of a role with fire services. And advocacy for pullouts and washrooms on the Duffy Lake Road. Split Rock is interested in that as well, and they're actually speaking to MLA Taggart about it. So that, I guess it can just stay there, but it's there's actually a little movement on that front as well. So a few tweaks to that, and thank you. Is that all clear, Kristen?
Can I just go, so the first item, the Statlium Cultural Center. So
Yep.
you want that to be a star under First Nations relations?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I had support the implementation of Statlium Cultural Center, but I think you had another verb in there.
Oh, planning.
Support the planning and implementation? Okay.
That will cover it.
Okay, so that's perfect. I have the name of the park added. I have the signage added under environmental stewardship. I've moved emergency planning to be number 7 and fire services will be number 6 because I believe your items are in the order of priority or
They are.
They are.
Yeah.
Yes. Although maybe I'll make a note of that because it doesn't say either way and other areas have it listed
I know.
specifically. So in order of priority?
Yes, please.
Okay. Perfect. And then the change from actioning of SLRD fire services review to support fire services dash Seton.
Actually, we support the fire services in Lillooet and some of the smaller groups like Texas Creek and the Yalakum as well. So maybe just the various fire services in
Perfect.
Area B.
Great.
I'll go back on mute.
Thank you.
Oh, Graham.
Graham?
Yeah, and I think there was a First Nations component to both the Anderson Lake Park and the Texas Creek Park. An archaeological work and or First Nations involvement.
You're on mute, Vivian.
Thank you, Chair Mack. You're right. Thank you, Graham. There is a request right now for bids to do the archaeological assessment for the Anderson Lake Together Park at Seton. And we have a call out to First Nations for consultation on the Texas Creek Park. Those are things that staff are doing. There's some movement, which is pretty exciting for me.
Do you want those listed or is that just a commentary? Like they're components of those projects.
And since it says there's currently being action by staff on both of them, maybe that's okay as it is.
Okay.
Okay, Tony?
Thank you. Mine are not in order of priority. They're just grouped according to the communities in Area D. So you can stay like that. Number 1 can remain the same. Number 2, I think we might as well take out the fire department one. The area around the fire hall, the practice area, that's all been done. And I know Sarah has instituted financial plans, so I don't think that needs to be in that plan anymore. It's probably easier just take that whole bullet and the two subsections out, Kristen.
Okay.
Okay. Number 3, Black Tusk Pinecrest. If you read that first bullet, I think you'll agree that that needs to come out. Potential takeover and build of new wastewater treatment plant by SLRD and potential for combinations with Pinecrest. We're not working on that right now. That's off the list. And the same comment about the Garibaldi Fire Department as I had about Britannia. I know that Sarah's got that in hand now. It's not something I feel that I need to be working on. So that can come off there. It's done.
So take off the entire number 3 then?
Well, you can leave 3 Black Tusk Pinecrest there with nothing underneath it, and I'll worry about adding something later.
Okay.
Furry Creek can stay as it is. Ring Creek, yeah, I'm still waiting to hear from those guys. Number 6, the Eridee District of Squamish Ag Plan, that's basically done now, so that could come off. So number 7 now becomes number 6, and I know that it says new to be added. I would like to add, I think that's something that we need to be talking to the District of Squamish about now, given the amount of time it takes to develop something like that. So I'd like to at least get it moved, even if it's not completed in this term. I'd like to really get it moving because, you know, realistically, it's going to take a couple of years to put that together, isn't it? Okay, so if we can sort of activate it, and I'll talk to the mayor and see how they would like to proceed and when they would like to. Other than that, that's fine. Thank you.
So Director Rainbow, is that is that 1, 2, 3, like 3 separate service, like there'd be a service area for the library, a service area for the search?
No. What we want to explore is one service area that would cover a variety of services. It requires, it's quite a bit of work. We already have a contribution to the library. We have a service area for that. We have a separate servicing for search and rescue. We've given money to off-road cycling out of, I think it came out of amenities funds, I'm not quite sure, or maybe Select. And there are a number, it's just worth a conversation. I mean, we may decide to leave the search and rescue one as is, but the library one, the money going to the library is coming from PILT, and it's been fixed for years. The population has grown, the usage of the library by Area D residents has grown, and we need to find a way of sort of boosting that contribution. So I'm not quite sure how it would come out, but as I say, this has come from serious committee meeting in the car on the way to Pemberton, with the mayor and Doug and I talking about it. So I just want to formalize that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we need just a motion to receive this then?
Motion to make the, because I've made those revisions, so.
Receive as amended.
Okay, so a motion to receive as amended?
Perfect.
I'll do that.
Okay. Moved by Tony, seconded by Vivian. Call question, all in favor. Opposed, motion carried. Now we go on to 7.1, which is the Jack Webster Bridge survey costs. Director Rainbow.
So sorry to interrupt, Chair Mack. We have we moved that select funds report as 6.5 from the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so
So Vivian, that was your request. You're muted.
I really have a hard time managing two screens. Plus my mouse was set up by my left-handed guy
Oh,
in the wrong direction. I don't know how to talk to it to go the other way. Okay. Area A, I'm not interested in. Here we go. Area B. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm looking down the list. And the allocations. The Pemberton Wildlife Association Coast to Cascade Grizzly Bear Initiative for signage. That could just stop there and we could take out in proximity to the Texas Creek Forest Service Road. They know they have that little bit of money available for signage, but it can be anywhere they deem necessary. Texas Creek Forest Service Road has recently been closed. There's a lot of attention on that road here, but mostly it's being managed by Sequowash. And anyway, so just if that second part of the sentence was removed and the Pavilion Lake concern should stay there. Now, the third entry under allocations up to 300 for Area B Agricultural Advisory, there's only 110 remaining. Can I change that, Kristen, to say up to $600 for Area B, AAC, and NEDIC for lunches?
you could pass another, I mean, you're either gonna, we'll need another resolution to either add to that, or you might want to just like if you want to put that 110 back in and then make a motion for the amount that you want and add in the new wording. It's up to you. I mean, ultimately I would suggest we return the 110 to the funds available, and then you make a new motion for what you want.
Okay.
And for what purpose you want it. And if that makes sense. And same with, so for the other item, we would need a motion to just remove the for signage in proximity, that wording, remove that wording from that resolution.
Okay, so do you need a resolution to remove for signage in proximity to the Texas Creek, or no? Just
yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to move that, just the second part of that sentence related to the Grizzly Bear Initiative for signage, just in proximity to the Texas Creek Forest Service Road, be removed. That would be my motion on that one.
Okay, I'll second that. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Whoops.
What's the second one?
A motion to return $110.90 for the AAC lunch to the fund, but then reallocate $300 twice, so $600 for the Agricultural Advisory Committee and the NEDIC towards lunches in the optimistic future. That would be my motion.
you want to say up to 600, and then if you only spend 598, the $2 will automatically go back.
Thank you.
Otherwise, it will sit there.
A friendly amendment up to $600, please, towards AAC and NEDIC lunches.
Moved by Vivian, seconded by Tony. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
I'm wondering about the wording on this traffic control costs on Smith Road have been sitting there since I began, and we do help. So I didn't want to take the money out so much as just change the wording and just leave the $1,000 in there towards fuel mitigation on Smith Road in Pavilion Lake, and just take out traffic control costs on. May I do that, Kristen?
Well, I would suggest you just return that to the fund. It's pretty dated. That's from April
is.
2018. So if you want to just return that funding and then make a new resolution.
Okay, we'll return that. So a motion, please, to return that $1,000 allocated for traffic control costs, but then put it back in the $1,000, just up to $1,000 for fuel mitigation control burns Pavilion Lake area. They do something every year. There will be a request, so it shouldn't be that much, but up to 1,000.
So up to 1,000 for fuel mitigation, for traffic control related to fuel mitigation burns?
I think they're handling the traffic control okay, and that could be one of the costs, but I don't think we have to limit it to that. So just costs related to fuel mitigation.
Okay.
Pavilion Lake. And then it's broader, and we should be ready to accept whatever comes up in the spring.
And
Or-
so, yeah, and sorry, who's that, and that's intended for who?
It's the Pavilion Lake residents. They have an association member. And also, no, also Squamish band also applies. So either group, depending, some is funded through Sarah's shop. So I just wanted to leave it broad.
But yeah, and this is just, I'm not familiar with that, all the wording of that resolution. Like, this is just kind of an abbreviated summary that's on here. So I'm not sure in that April 2018 resolution whether it had who is entitled to that, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm just not sure. So we have up to $1,000 for available for, how would you like to deal with that?
Costs related to fuel mitigation controlled burn at Pavilion Lake.
But who would be eligible, like who people would be eligible to submit receipts for that? Like,
Yes.
So how do they?
Oh, I see. Like the Coastal Gates have to give a receipt for the sign money they spend, that kind of thing. Okay, so that would be towards the Pavilion ratepayers or Squamish, whichever group applied. And they applied depending on what other monies they're getting, right? So we sort of pay whatever's left over. It's a bit hard to anticipate how that'll go year to year.
Yeah, sorry, give me, if I can have just a few seconds. I just want to pull up how this was worded in 2018. If that's okay.
For sure.
I take a moment to do that.
And the other one, while you do that, maybe I'll just, Russell, you were on the board when the money was committed towards Seton Valley Volunteer Fire Department Fire Chief Frank Richings. I was wondering about making the wording a little less specific on that, but maybe I'll just leave it alone. I'll just leave it. So have you got the answer, Kristen?
So the original wording was that up to $1,000 from Area B Select funds be allocated towards traffic control costs on Smith Road and Pavilion Lake for a fuel mitigation controlled burn being undertaken.
By,
It doesn't say, but it sounds like it was one specific. Yeah. Anyways,
it was an event and they
was one specific. Yeah. And it sounds like, so that was never, no one ever applied for any of that funding. So would you like to, so you've named the two groups that would be, you would be looking to be eligible for that funding. Is that-
absolutely. Pavilion ratepayers or Squilex band.
Great.
Up to $1,000. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll move that.
Okay, Sal will second it. I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, you're okay there?
Hey, Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
seeing as we got this open, I see on mine, I've got Andrea Kittler, Facebook advertisements, there's $75 remaining there. Is Andrea still with us, Kristen?
No.
So really, that should really be to the attention of Patricia then, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the status of that is, Director Rainbow. I'm not sure. I haven't been asked, I haven't been told there's any concerns with how that's being handled.
No, I know they spent $25 initially.
Yeah,
on some
yeah.
ads, but I think okay, leave it with me. I'll just let Patricia know that 75 sitting there. If she wants to use it, she can.
Yeah,
That's-
she's
that's-
aware of it. Yeah.
Was she? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just take Andrea's name out there and put communications department or something like that.
Like, do you want to change that original?
No, leave
Okay.
it, leave it. We know what's going on. Okay.
Okay, we're okay with all this now?
Sure. Fine.
Okay there, Kristen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to 7.1. Jack Webster Bridge Survey Costs, Director Rainbow.
Yeah, that first request is taking out the $5,000 that you just saw on the select funds, because we want to change what we're spending the money on. So the first paragraph takes the $5,000 out. The second paragraph puts the $5,000 back in for a different purpose. So I'd like to move those two. The two requests
Moved by,
around the 5,000.
okay, moved by Director Burchon, seconded by Director Demare. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
And my second one there, I just want to ask Graham a question before. Graham, do we still need that one? Is it best to do it and pull it later if we don't use it, or just forget it? That's the preparing the statutory right of way.
Right. Thanks, Director Rainbow. We're waiting to hear back from BC Hydro as to whether they'll be able to provide some legal time and some funding toward preparing that SRW, but I haven't heard back yet. Their in-house legal counsel's on vacation for another week or two. So I think at this time, it'd probably be best to include it just to provide that backup.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, you heard what Graham just said, so I'm going to move that. We allocate that $2,500. If it's not needed, then we can reverse that later on. So I'll make that motion now, please.
Okay, moved, seconded by Sal. Call a question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, next is 7.2, signage for electoral area B, Director Birch Jones.
Thank you, Chair Mac. And you've got the background there. We don't need to get into a discussion on how badly people are behaving in the back country, but the string of complaints is just being crazy. So I'd like to move a request to allocate up to 1,500 plus associated staff time from Area B portal funds for the 10 signs in Area B indicating respect rural communities, travel responsibly, and leave no trace.
Okay, you're moving that. Sal's going to second it. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
And I see Angela. Thank you for working on that. We're making some progress on that signage. So I'll be very happy, and I would be very happy to ride around and help put those flipping signs up. And I told Brad Beaupre, who said, just make sure you're not obscuring any important driveways or something that drivers need to see as they're coming along. So we have to have a look at that. So far, I don't think so. But some of the signs, the Area B portal signs, also need a little bit of refurbishing, and we might do that at the same time, which would be great. But we know that the budget for that portal is for $5,000 in Area B. So great, we have money to do that. Thank you.
Okay, 7.3, educational video and signage regarding recreational users, Director Demare.
Thank you. Yes, as Vivian stated, there's a lot of issues, not only in Area B, but also Area A, with the amount of recreational users that we've had, especially this past summer, but in previous years also. And I think an educational video to complement the signs that Vivian is putting on, I think would be beneficial for all the SLRD areas. And I would like to, I'm requesting that that the SLRD staff look into the logistics of creating a video like that. I was involved in the previous videos that were made with regarding the transfer stations and so on, and I think they were very well done, and I'm looking forward to something very similar that we can share on social media.
Director Rainbow?
Yeah, I think Sal's got a great idea there, and I just wonder, the BC Wildfire Service, when they produce those videos about the Upper Squamish Valley, I don't know if you've looked at them, but the quality is excellent, and it'd be worth contacting that company that did that and include them in getting an idea of what it would cost. Certainly get an estimate, and I think that's something that we should look for grant funding if there's anything available, and failing that, we should consider how we could share the cost amongst the rural areas. I think we maybe also take that to the board and suggest the municipalities get involved, because they're impacted as well by the number of people that come in. We're talking mostly backcountry, but there are areas that border and sort of flow into the munis, and they maybe can put some money into that as well. So I'd like that to be all part of the discussion. That's what I'm suggesting.
Okay, Christine, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair Mac. Angela could speak to some very high level costs for those videos if you're interested at this point.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Through the chair, we looked at the costs that were allocated for the solid waste videos that Director Demare was speaking to, and we had allocated about $1,500 per video for that type of work. So staff did touch base with the production company that did those works, and they said that it would likely be about $1,300 to do like the first cut, and then editing could be a potential 1,000. And again, we need to take into consideration the safety measures that would be associated with doing that type of filming given COVID-19. So wanting to anticipate some additional probably safety measures and costs around that as well. But that's just really high level. We just checked in with the company that had done the previous videoing with us.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Yes, Sal.
Yeah, just looking at, you know, the request where we've got respect rural communities, travel responsibly, and leave no trace. I'm wondering if the, you know, we'd have to get a little group together to decide what the content would be on it with whomever would get the contract. But I wondered if we couldn't do short videos of each one of those criteria there. That would be 3 videos, you know, and now you're looking at $10,000 or so, which isn't much, but it would have to be, the videos would have to be something that we could bring up on a yearly basis when the prime recreational activities start in the spring. So just some thoughts on how and what the content would actually look like and who would be doing that.
Vivian?
I will certainly support sharing the cost of doing this. It's just a good thing to do. We could include staff putting up the signs in Area B in the video. But I don't think that the idiots that are causing us all this grief are going to be the ones that are watching the video. I mean, I have this sort of sinking feeling that it's a good exercise, but I don't know how to reach the population that needs to understand this. I mean, we should obviously start education in grade 2 is how I'm feeling. But I would support a shared exercise in making these. I think it would be valuable. And I like Director Rainbow's suggestion to also take it to our municipalities.
Yeah, Sal, go ahead.
Just on what you talked about, educating the students, these could easily be shared at all the different school districts within our region, and start with the elementary schools and up to the high schools.
Yeah, I think that this kind of stuff should actually be coming. I mean, we could be involved with it, but I think the lead on it should be either Ministry of Forests or the Conservation Service. They're the ones that have the actual jurisdiction on these Forest Service roads and that sort of stuff. So I think we need to at least reach out to them and see if they're interested and if they in fact have already produced anything. So that would be my thought.
So where are we?
Are you okay with that, Kristen? Yeah, Sal, go ahead.
Yeah, we could, for sure. I mean, we could ask staff to do that, or I could do it. Go to the different ministries involved.
Yeah, you know, I think it would be better coming from staff, just because then, you know, it's directed from sort of one source, I guess, and they can speak on all our behalves. Although, having said that, does that put that much more extra work on staff, Kristen?
Well, Angela, you could maybe speak to your workload right now. I'm not sure what time frame we're looking at here heading into the winter. If this is something that, like, would the timeline for this be looking at shooting something in the spring? We could, there could be a recommendation to the board that staff bring back a report that maybe incorporates the costing and some of the logistics, and then having looked into the ministry, you know, reached out to the ministries. There could be something like that, maybe with a schedule, and I think that would maybe be a direction request, or just bringing back some information to the board table if it's going to be more of a regional district initiative.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, because I don't think you would get anything produced now in the next month or two. So we're probably looking at having something produced for next spring. I don't know how it affects the winter so much. I don't think we have near the amount of people roaming around in our areas in the winter, although there is a lot of skidooers and such, but yeah, I think just on a timeline, you're probably looking at next spring to have this, you know, roll out. That would be my thought.
Yes, I'd agree with that. It's going to take some time to, for whoever does it to actually create, you know, create what we want to see in the content.
So what do you need from us then, Kristen?
So a request that staff bring back a report regarding the costs and logistics of creating an educational video. And signage, do we want and signage in there? Regarding, I'm just kind of cribbing it off of Director Demers' report there, and then kind of incorporating the timeline, high level costs, and the reach out to the ministries.
Yeah, I think the signage will, as what Vivian is doing, is also would be appropriate for this, because then you get the two, video and the signage to go with it. Very similar to the stay apart signage.
So do you want a motion as to what you just said, Kristen?
Yeah, yes. If that's what the committee wants to do, a recommendation to the board that staff bring back a report looking into the costs and logistics of creating an educational video and signage regarding recreational users in the electoral areas, and I think users in the electoral areas, or more general.
It's the visitors.
Well, we have locals that also disrespect the environment.
I think that motion's broad enough to get to where we want to go.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
You'll move that, Sal?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
I'll second it. Okay, Tony seconds it. Call the question, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.
As long as it doesn't interfere with the work going on in the signs for Area B. First things first.
Surprisingly, you weren't on mute for that one.
Oh,
Okay, I'm going on mute now, Chair Mag.
you're going
Okay,
to
thanks.
you're going to translate those signs into grizzly, are you? Just to make sure that we cover every eventuality. Very good.
Okay, here we go now with another 7.4, no firearms discharge bylaw signage. Director Demare. Sal.
Yes, I've had requests from 3 different communities. As the report says, the Rod and Gun Club has not renewed their lease with BC Hydro, and I'm also working with them in another grant and aid request for a new land tenure for their Rod and Gun Club. But there are concerns, and there have been concerns in all 3 areas of people shooting in the bylaw zone. It's still legal for people that have permits to go hunt in that area, but still have to pay attention to the government regulations that are related to distance from the roads. So, yeah, I'm requesting the funding for the signage. I've worked with the staff already, and we've got a pretty good templates created, and I want to move forward with it.
Okay, well, I will support it. You're going to move it. I'll second it. I think that's a really big. Also, yeah, I wish you all the luck in the world getting your land for your range and that. I think that's extremely important to have a designated place to go and shoot and recreate in that respect. So yeah, good for you. So I'll call a question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, correspondence for action. Request for funding, Bridge River Valley Community Association 2021 program areas A and B. Yep, Sal?
I'll have to declare a conflict of interest as the BRVCA grant writer works for the BRVCA, and I have a daughter and a wife that are involved in the BRVCA.
Okay, very good. Graham? You want to park, Sal?
Yeah, he's parked.
Park just like that. A click of a button.
Okay, I'll move this.
Hey, do you want to speak, Vivian?
Sure. I'm not actually sure if Sal attended this session, but NDIT have offered some updates on the new programming that they're doing. And there are some very good things happening in that program, and hopefully areas A and B and Lillooet will be able to take advantage of them. The online applications are just opening up now, and what got me started on this was they said the opportunity to apply for grant writers would be the first one opening up, I think, September 8th for online applications. So Sal and I are so pleased with this program and the services we've been getting from Lori Reimer. We haven't always been successful in our grant applications, but we've done a lot of good work in this program. And so we wanted to just get ahead of this. I know we are currently funded for the grant writer. Is it to the end of the calendar year? Kristen, to the end of December?
I believe so.
So is it premature to do this now?
No.
You don't think so, Director Rainbow?
No, the money doesn't have to be spent now, does it? But it can be, you're asking to allocate the money. And so it would just, we've just done that select funds report. So it would just shift it from unallocated into allocated. It doesn't matter when it's spent.
Okay, then I would
That
like,
way,
yeah.
so we would need two motions here then. One for area A and one for area B. Is that correct? Or we can do it in one?
Yes, we can do it together.
Okay. So Vivian,
So in
you're
that,
gonna move it.
yeah, I'd like to move that we allocate $4,000 from area B, A, and 1,250 from area B towards the costs of the grant writer rebate program with NDIT for the upcoming opportunity to apply for the upcoming application.
So area A is 5,250, correct?
That's what it says in,
Yeah,
Yes.
because Vivian, I believe, said 4,000.
I did. Sorry. So,
So it's 5,250.
correct.
Okay.
In total, that's the combined. Oh, no. Total, the total
No.
6,200.
It's 5,250 from electoral area A and 1,250 from electoral area B.
Yeah, apologies. Yes, corrected.
So you're going to move that. Tony's going to second it.
yep,
I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, so this will sit allocated in the select funds, and then Patricia will be bringing a report to a future board meeting to get the direction to apply for that grant program. It's kind of a two-piecer, but there's nothing stopping you from allocating this funding here, but then there'll be allocation of funding that will be required with respect to applying for the program. But Patty will deal with that at the board meeting, because that's a board that will go to the board, and as you know, select funds come to this committee.
And something worth telling Patty about, just because it's a glimmer of optimism for her in this funding application business, is that these online applications with NDIT can be brought forward year to year. So once the initial application has been done, grant writer is a perfect example. You can just update your application the next year, thereby reducing considerably the amount of paperwork and time required by staff. So
very good.
glad to hear that.
Okay, Graham, can you bring Sal back?
Yes, Chair Mackey's coming back.
Perfect. There he is. Okay.
Awesome.
Let's see where we are here. Great. Well, it seems that I've lost the agenda here. We were doing the Mizaki house now. I'll see if I can get this thing going. Yeah, okay.
In the meantime,
Sorry if I can just interject and say, Director Birch Jones, consideration on when, if you want this paid, if the committee is approving it, do we want this paid upon receipts being produced, or how you want to structure that, and also the funding source?
Thank you. I would like to authorize this as a payment to the Miyazaki, I think that's the proper pronunciation, House Society, towards the cost of replacing the roof and repairing the porch on the log cabin at the Miyazaki Heritage South House, and it goes to the Miyazaki House Society, which is a nonprofit, and their address is included in the footnote there on the letter.
Yeah.
And the quote is there. So we can proceed to pay that.
Is that coming from your bank account, Vivian?
Select Area B
Oh, okay.
funds. Although I think I could
Okay.
do D for some of that.
So not upon submission of receipts, not of invoices. Just you want us to forward the money now, like, or do you want you want the work to be done and then invoices submitted for reimbursement?
I'm pretty comfortable forwarding the payment for this as per the quote. If that helps them to move the work along before the snow flies, that's a very good thing.
Okay, so you're moving it. Tony's going to second it. I'll call a question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. And I'm still trying to get,
That was 8.2. Thank you.
I've lost my screen here. Hang on. Okay, let's see. Request for funding Lillooet Board and BMX Association, concrete skateboard and BMX park. That would be Area B.
So I would like to move providing $2,000 from Electoral Area B Select Funds towards engineering and blueprint costs for a future concrete skateboard and BMX park for the Lillooet BMX Association.
Okay, I'll move that. Hal or Sal's going to second it. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, 8.4 is request for funding Spirits Mission Rescue Society, spay and neuter cats and dogs. Is that an Area B initiative or?
It is.
Yes, you're not. Okay.
So once again, this would come from Area B Select Funds, $2,000 towards the dog and cat spay and neuter program this fall. Now, this request came to me, and actually it might be clear in the associated letter. Steve Curtis, Dr. Steve Curtis is a retired vet who's now the head of the chamber in Seton Shalath, and he participates in this program for the stray and feral dogs and cats in the neighborhood. Apparently they've done some good work here, and they're going to do it again this year. And I'd like to move $2,000 towards the program to go to Spirits.
Very good. Okay. Sal's going to second it. I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Excuse me. Request for funding, Bridge River Rod and Gun Club, shooting range land tenure. Sal?
Yes, I'm gonna have to declare a conflict of interest as the BRVCA grant writer. Did a fair amount of work on this one, working with the Rod and Gun Club. And again, she works for the BRVCA, where my wife and my daughter are both involved in.
Okay. Very good. Graham? Thank you. So I'll move this, and I'm sure Vivian will second it gladly. And
I'll vote for it, so it's done. Sal's in just a really bad position there, having to declare conflicts all the time. I feel badly for him, but I don't know what to do.
well, I know it. Yeah. That's a really difficult situation because he's trying to be so careful, but you know, it's just he doesn't get to put his input into the things he wants to put forward. I don't know what's going on over there. I have a pretty good idea just from, yeah. Anyways, I don't know what we can do about it.
Don't want to get.
But I'm happy to follow through on these requests for Area A in Sal's absence, and he provides us the background we need so we can still provide service here, I think.
Oh yeah, I have no problem with that at all. We need to support him in his endeavors, you know, completely. So anyways, it's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried.
Good.
I don't know what's going on here.
Welcome back.
I keep losing. Pardon? Sal's back, good. Yeah, I keep losing this page, but we're back again. Okay, so now we've got decision on additional late business. And the late business is Director's Report, Howe Sound Marine Rescue Society, Director Rainbow.
Well, there you go. They, as I've said in my little blurb, they work in the Howe Sound as far south as Porto Road. So we're dealing with the populated side of the Sound, which is Britannia Beach, Ferry Creek, down through there, plus the other side, which has some properties that are serviced only by boats and a couple of marine parks. So I feel they provide the kind of service that is valuable to residents of Area D, and so I'm proposing that we contribute $6,828.25 from select funds towards the purchase of vests, helmets, and life jackets.
Very good. I'll second that. Call the question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Now we have 10.2, which is a request for funding Rotary Club of Pemberton District Chamber of Commerce 2020 golf event fundraiser. And so I would like to take $250 from Area C select funds to put towards this event. So I'll move that. Vivian will second it. I'll call the question. All in favor, opposed, motion carried. Director's notice of motion. Is there any, Kristen?
No.
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 Okay, so we come to that, Tony's favorite part of the agenda here.
Yep.
Okay, so Graham, we're going to see you around, obviously, but is this your last official meeting then?
No, I will be participating in the NEDIC meeting tomorrow as well. But my last official
cool.
EAD meeting, yeah.
Last official EAD meeting. Well, there we go.
Well, thank you so
Let's see what
much.
we can do about that. We'll have you in for technical reports on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you, Graham.
You're all very welcome.
Yeah.
Great job, Graham.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, you guys. Talk to you all later. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful, again, we're in the middle of the week, so